Off the coast of Brazil, there is an island so dangerous that the country's government has made it a crime for you to set foot on it. Not because of what you might steal, not because of what's hidden there, but because the island is, quite literally, trying to kill anything that touches its shore. They call it Ilha da Queimada Grande. The rest of the world calls it Snake Island. And on this one patch of jungle, smaller than most city parks, there live thousands of one of the deadliest snakes on the planet. A snake found nowhere else on Earth. A snake whose venom can kill a grown adult in under an hour and can dissolve the flesh around the wound while it does. The Brazilian Navy guards it. Scientists need special permission and a doctor standing by just to land. And there is a local legend, whispered by the fishermen who won't go near it, about what happens to the people who ignore the warning. I'm going to show you why this tiny island became the most venomous place on Earth, what its snakes actually do to the human body, the abandoned lighthouse with a story that will keep you up tonight, and the strange twist that the deadliest thing on this island might also be the thing that saves your life. Snake Island sits about 20 miles off the coast of São Paulo state, close enough that on a clear day you can see the Brazilian mainland from its shore, close enough that boats pass by it constantly. And yet, almost no human being is ever allowed to walk on it. The island itself is tiny, about 100 acres. You could walk across it in under an hour, if walking across it wouldn't likely get you killed. Because packed into that 100 acres are somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 golden lanceheads, a snake that exists on this island and nowhere else in the world. You've probably heard the famous claim that there's one snake for every square meter of the island. That one's actually a myth, an exaggeration that got repeated until it became fact. The real density is lower. And it's dropped further as the population has declined. But don't let the correction fool you into relaxing. Even the accurate number makes Snake Island one of the single densest concentrations of venomous snakes found anywhere on the planet. Scientists who have surveyed it describe spotting a snake every few minutes just walking the trails. Look up into the trees, and there are more. There is nowhere on that island you can stand and be sure you're alone. To understand why this island is forbidden, you have to understand the animal that owns it. The golden lancehead, Bothrops insularis, is a pit viper. Its mainland cousins are already responsible for the majority of snakebite deaths in Brazil. But isolation on this island turned the golden lancehead into something worse. Its venom is estimated to be as much as 3 to 5 times more potent than the snake it evolved from. And it's not the kind of venom that simply stops your heart. It's hemotoxic, which means it attacks the body itself. A bite from a golden lancehead can cause internal bleeding, kidney failure, and necrosis. The tissue around the wound begins to die and break down. In the worst cases, the flesh around the bite quite literally starts to dissolve. Left untreated, a serious bite can kill a person in well under an hour. Now put those two facts together. Thousands of these snakes, and venom that can dissolve you from the inside. And stand on that beach in your imagination. There is no hospital. There is no anti-venom on the island. There is no signal, no dock, no quick way off. If you're bitten out there, the clock that starts ticking is one you almost certainly can't beat.
That is why nobody is allowed to land. But it raises a question that took scientists decades to answer. How does one small island end up with a monster like this in the first place?
Here's the part that turns Snake Island from a horror story into something genuinely stranger. Around 11,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, the seas rose. And a piece of the Brazilian mainland, a hill, still connected by dry land, was slowly cut off, surrounded, and turned into an island. Whatever animals happened to be standing on that hill when the water closed in were trapped there, forever. Among them, a population of lanceheads. On the mainland, these snakes hunted mammals, rats, mice, small ground animals. Prey that, once bitten, can only stumble a few feet before it drops. On the island, that prey disappeared. There were no mammals to hunt. What the island did have was birds, migratory birds, stopping to rest in the trees on their long journeys up and down the coast. And a bird is a completely different problem to kill. Bite a bird with ordinary venom, and it does the one thing a rat can't. It flies away. It flies off to die somewhere else, and your meal is gone. So the golden lancehead evolved a solution. Its venom became faster and more potent enough to kill a bird almost instantly before it can take off. Generation after generation, isolated on that shrinking patch of jungle, the snakes that could drop a bird on the spot survived and bred. The ones that couldn't went hungry. The result, after 11,000 years, is a snake with venom so overbuilt for killing birds that it happens to be catastrophically dangerous to us. The golden lancehead isn't evil. It's not even unusually aggressive. It's simply the product of an island that gave it one job: kill instantly or starve, and 11,000 years to get very, very good at it. There is exactly one structure on Snake Island: a lighthouse. It was built in 1909, back when the island still needed a keeper to run the light and warn ships off the rocks. And it's the source of the two stories that made Snake Island a legend. Stories you'll hear repeated in every telling of this place. I'm going to tell you both. I'm also going to tell you what's actually true, because the real island doesn't need the exaggeration. The first story is the fisherman. As it's told, a fisherman, unaware of the island's reputation, went ashore to pick bananas. He never came back to his village. Days later, his boat was found drifting, and the fisherman was inside it, dead, in a pool of his own blood, bitten again and again. The second story is the keeper's family. As it's told, the last lighthouse keeper was living on the island with his wife and children when snakes came in through the windows one night. The family fled toward their boat, and the snakes, hanging in the branches along the path, killed every one of them as they ran. Here's the honest truth. Neither of those stories is documented. They're folklore. The kind of tale that grows around a place people are already terrified of. The The lighthouse was automated in the 1920s, and no keeper has lived there since. There's no record of a family dying in it. But notice what's happening. The island is so genuinely dangerous that people invented deaths for it. As if the real danger, thousands of the world's deadliest snakes on a scrap of forbidden jungle, somehow wasn't dramatic enough on its own. It was. The legends are fake. The reason people believe them is completely real. So who's actually allowed on Snake Island?
Almost no one. The Brazilian Navy controls access, and the environmental agency issues only a handful of permits. To scientists and to the Navy team that visits to maintain the lighthouse. And if you are granted permission, the conditions tell you everything. You are required to bring a doctor with you, on the island, standing by. Because the assumption baked into the permit is that someone might get bitten. And if they do, the only thing between them and death is the person you brought with you. That's the official reason the island is closed, to protect people from the snakes. But there's a second reason, and it flips the whole story around. Because the golden lancehead exists nowhere else on Earth, it has become one of the most valuable animals on the black market. A single specimen, smuggled off the island, can reportedly sell to collectors and unscrupulous buyers for somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000. Biopirates, wildlife smugglers, have every incentive to sneak onto that island, and some have tried. So the snake that can kill you in an hour is itself in danger of being poached, of habitat loss, of disease, of the slow genetic squeeze of being trapped on an island too small to hide in. The golden lancehead is now classified as critically endangered. Its numbers are falling, which means the Navy patrolling that water isn't only keeping people off the island, it's keeping poachers off the island. The fence works in both directions. Brazil isn't just protecting you from Snake Island, it's protecting Snake Island from you. And here is the final twist. The reason losing this snake would be a tragedy far beyond one island. The same venom that can dissolve human tissue is one of the most valuable medical resources in the natural world. This isn't speculation. Venom from the golden lancehead's close relatives, Brazilian pit vipers, led directly to one of the most important heart medications ever developed. The first drug in a class that millions of people take, right now, today, to control their blood pressure. Scientists studied how the venom affected the human circulatory system and turned a killing tool into a treatment. The golden lancehead's venom is now being studied the same way, for compounds that could help with blood clots, heart disease, and even cancer. The molecules this snake evolved to stop a bird's heart in midair may hold the blueprint for keeping a human heart beating. So, think about what Snake Island actually is. A hill that got trapped by the ocean 11,000 years ago. A snake that evolved to kill instantly on an island that forced it to. A place so deadly that humans made up ghost stories about it and then made it a crime to visit, half to protect us from the snakes and half to protect the snakes from us. And inside that venom, the thing we're most afraid of, there may be a cure we haven't finished discovering. We tend to think of forbidden places as dangers to be conquered. Snake Island is the rare one that flips it. It doesn't want to be conquered.
It doesn't want to be saved or studied or sold. Left alone behind its wall of venom, it has done what almost nothing else on this crowded planet gets to do. It has been left completely, perfectly alone. And maybe that, not the snakes, not the venom, is the most forbidden thing about it. In a world where we go everywhere and take everything, here is one small island that we are simply not allowed to touch.
If this is your first time here, this channel is Forbidden Atlas, where we map the places the world isn't allowed to see. Next week, a city of 170,000 people that's poisoned, frozen, and closed to foreigners, where you need government permission just to step off the plane. Subscribe so you don't miss it.